Welcome to Just Curious Media. This is Zen Dog Training. I'm Jason Connell.
And I'm Gordon Fontaine.
Gordon, I'm super excited about this episode today. I've been wanting to talk about it, but we've got a lot of good episodes under our belt already. And now we're delving into what I believe is alpha dogs, alpha leaders, just alpha in general, because I think there's a lot of misconceptions about this in dog training.
I would agree. The alpha thing is something we really want to talk about and shed light on because it's definitely a lot of misunderstandings and misconceptions around the idea of alpha.
Yeah, because me being a novice dog trainer, I was asked this over the years in raising dogs, or told even, like, you got to be the alpha. And I was always like, well, I'm the master. I care for the dog. So I wasn't sure how to answer that, not to mention just my dog in general. Is he an alpha dog? What does he do with alpha dogs? So, yeah, I think this is going to be very illuminating for people to have the real information.
Agreed. And I did want to clarify a couple things just right off the bat is
Okay.
looking at dogs within other dogs and one has a stronger personality or one's more demanding or when they're interacting in a pack, that's harder to define. We don't know what dogs are saying to each other. So I want to talk about the alpha in the way that most people talk about it, which is within their relationship with their own dog.
Fair enough. Yeah, so let's delve into this. I mean, you're the master. Please guide us down this path.
Well, I'll start with just like you. I hear this all the time from clients. They say, well, I've got to be the alpha, right? People like the dog whisperer. He got famous. Cesar Millan was talking about the alpha. And the problem with this idea is that science-based dog trainers like myself, trainers who work at zoos, trainers who work and train animals for movies, they cringe at using the word alpha
Okay.
for good reason, because it starts to encourage this dominance thing. And we'll talk about that. The dominance thing encourages like these methods that I just totally am against. And one of them is the alpha roll, grabbing the dog with a scruff of the back and pinning him on his back. So that's like the worst version of it. But then there's other versions of it where you're like, well, I'm the alpha, so I'm the one who tells him what to do. And in some ways, yes, I like that a lot. You're the master, you're the boss, you're the leader. You're the one who needs to tell your dog what to do, when and how. And so I want to just split it into, let's talk about the alpha stuff as in traditionally, and then the positives of that philosophy. We changed the name from alpha to leader or just to trainer.
Yeah, I could see how it quickly slips into fear-based training. Like alpha, okay, like you said, grab him by the scruff of the neck, show him who's boss. And yeah, and that might be the takeaway. And listen, there was a time and probably still is some trainers that focus that way, that do that type of training, which obviously you're not for. And Zen dog training embraces a very different philosophy and fundamentals. So yeah, let's jump in.
So let's start with the science. So as we've talked about, dogs are motivated by three things. They're motivated by food. If they don't eat, they die, just like us. They get hungry and grumpy. And they're motivated by love and things that feel good to them and things that they enjoy, whether it's play or chasing squirrels, which is like food and love together, fun, food. And then they're motivated by the avoidance of pain.
Right.
And that's the three things. You got fight, flight, food, affection as the extra that's there. And so what I found, and I bring this up as a story, is I talked to so many people, and I've got some friends that have dogs, and I try not to train them.
Your friends.
They're friends. If they want me to come train them, awesome. But I try not to give people free advice because it's their prerogative what they want to do with their dog.
Correct.
But they have a new puppy, this neighbor, friends of mine. Let's just call them Joe and Diane.
Okay.
And so Joe and Diane has a new dog, and Diane has done some showing with her dog, performance showing. Super cool. And so she worked with an all positive trainer, but I talked to Joe and he's like, well, I like to have my alpha. Oh, cool. Like, yeah, I do stuff like I look them in the eyes, blink, and then they blink. And I'm like, I don't even know what that means, but
I stare him down.
Yeah, I stare him down. It's kind of what I'm feeling. And I'm like, okay, it's still okay.
Okay.
And then I start delving into it. And I honestly think this happens every time someone describes alpha dog training to me. Every time someone says they're the alpha, he says, well, you know what I do? When they're bad, I don't just say no. I say no at the exact same time I say no. I poke him, hit him in the butt. And he just went right back to the scare startle stuff again.
Yeah. Because maybe it worked, or maybe that's how that person learned, and then it just continues on, this bad ideology.
My point is, every time you hear alpha, and I delve into it, I hear a sign of shock, startle, prong, poke, something that's going to trigger the fight flight. And the reason that's so unwanted is that if you're using a shock method or a startle method, scientifically speaking, your dog shouldn't see you as the one who doles out the punisher. So it's one thing, back in the day, I'm not saying choke chains don't work. I'm saying that in order for them to work right, you have to pop that leash the instant the dog makes the wrong decision.
Yeah.
And so they connect the of the choke chain, which isn't designed to choke. Believe it or not, you're really supposed to like startle them with it, jingle it. But you want to associate the second their paws jump on the table to eat something, you go, but it's not associated with you. And that's where everybody messes it up. They stomp over, they look their dog in the eye, they grab them by the scruff, and all that interaction with the person confuses the dog because they're associating the punishment and the fear-based awfulness coming from you and forgetting what they just did.
Yeah. So you don't share this with Joe and Diane. You just take in.
Honestly, well, I just said, let's focus on consequences, results, who's in control, outcomes. And, I don't know if I'm going to change Joe, but it was just so interesting to get a real world example in my own world of someone who's like Mr. Alpha. And then when they start boiling it down, pity is if he does that technique, the dog can associate the correction with him and not the real underlying problem. So they may never get the problem fixed. Right. And they're resorting on like scaring their dog as part of the process.
Also, not to go off topic, but this is a household with two different fundamental approaches to dog training. You have a dog trainer, very positive, best in show type trainer, and you've got the alpha dog. So then that's its own conflict that you run into.
Yeah, and the other thing I wanted to bring up with Joe is too, he's like, well, I don't use treats. That's how it started. I'm like, I don't use treats. I'm the alpha. Right. I was like, well, cool. Like, tell me what you do. Maybe I'm missing something big here, but I'd love to hear an alpha person give me a technique that doesn't result in some kind of startle.
Yeah, fear or pain or something.
Right.
And you've yet to encounter that because you've heard countless stories. Maybe an episode for another day would be the shock collars, the humane shock collars that people are promoting as it's like the right thing. It'll get your dog in line, but I'm sure this falls into that. And
it's in the same category. Point. You're triggering the fight-flight response, even at a low level with a vibration. Mm-hmm. And then it's fraught because you might time it wrong. The dog looks at a baby in a baby carriage and so you go zap and you're like, oops, oh well. And then you start pushing the dog down a fear thing. But if my clients mess up with the timing and the cookies and the treats, their dog just loves them more. It's like there's just no downside. I mean, maybe the downside is a little more demanding dog.
So double down on positivity, double down on treats.
But so let's talk about the alpha thing. So there was the whole reason this started was in the 60s. There's a guy named Dr. David Meck. And he did a study on wolves in captivity. And there's a bunch of great debunking of this thing. But Dr. Meck did a study of just wolves in captivity. And he thought there was some kind of pecking order. He's like, I seem to determine an alpha pecking order. And then it just took off. Dr. Meck himself, just a year or two after the study, was like, hey, I don't know if this is the right assumption that the dogs have a pecking order as the wolves do. Mm-hmm. And then through further research, he discovered that they're more like a family. Like when the two adults leave and there's some pups, like some of the other adult dogs
teenagers take over.
Yeah, they take over helping. It's like a family. And so he spent the last, I don't know how many years of his life trying to dispel the thing he started with the alpha dog. So even Dr. Meck, who was the starter of this whole thing, has come out publicly saying, no, they learn just like we do based on what they get away with.
Yeah, that does debunk the alpha dog mentality. But that is truly fascinating that they assimilate more like us so we can treat them like us and maybe get rid of this old rhetoric of alpha and pain and fear-based training.
And so good dog trainers are always like, no, I don't know about alpha. But at the same time, you have to be the one who's in control. Mm-hmm. You have to be the one who tells your dog what to do. And in those ways, I think that the alpha stuff can be helpful for a soft owner who's like doesn't want to be mean to their dog, but then has to learn that they're the boss.
Well, I think you had another story, a sad story, if I'm not mistaken, to share this episode as well.
I do. I have a guy who helps me in the garden, and he is originally from Mexico. And so it was interesting because he was talking about dogs, how much he loves dogs, and he loves my dog and stuff. And he's telling me a story how he had this dog the kids loved. It was a puppy, kind of a rambunctious puppy. And he was in Mexico, and he was trying to get the chickens back in the coop. Mm-hmm. And the dog was barking and chasing the chickens and stuff. And he said he just took this tiny little pebble of a rock and threw it at the dog. And Jason, I've heard this technique from like dog walkers, like people who are taking care of other people's dogs. They throw something, they try to like poke the dog, startle them, right? But in this case, he hit the dog in the head. And he said the dog whimpered and cried and then was crying and walking in circles and died. died 2 or 3 days later. His kids devastated, everybody crying, everybody, I mean, his eyes getting watering, right? He's
I'm
like,
devastated just
I was
hearing
like,
this story.
dude, but that's what I'm getting at is the
Yeah.
slippery slope. It's like,
Yep.
when does it stop? Yeah. He threw a pebble at the dog. It was a tiny rock. He showed me, it was like, it wasn't trying to, but when you use that sort of approach, the side effects can be terrible, let alone just getting your dog to feel scared or worried or isn't as able to love and experience the world the same way. Just for that reason alone, I say leave the alpha stuff behind.
Yeah, that is a cautionary tale to say the very least, and truly tragic because it was just a technique for him. It wasn't, I'm going to hurt this dog. So, yeah, this is the dark side of that. And I'm glad you shared that story. It's sad. It hit me right in the gut just to
I know.
hear
I
it.
literally thought about taping it with him because, you know, you can just hear in his voice.
He's never forgotten that
sad.
moment, nor have his children.
Kids, right.
Yeah. Well, I like your advice. We can leave the alpha, check it, put it aside, have more positivity. They're more, well, dogs are our family. They do become part of the family. So we should treat them as such, but remembering that they're dogs
Right.
at the same time.
Then remembering the best way for us to look at it is we're going to communicate with them in a language they understand, actions and consequences, but they can't be the one to tell you what to do.
Yeah.
So there's some value to feeling like you're the leader, you're the boss. And so I just don't think we're going to have to use a prong collar, a choke chain, or a shock collar.
Sure.
In that just gently interrupt, which, you know what? I think that's the topic for our next episode.
Uh-oh, look at him. We're queuing things up. I like this.
How to
Just a little
stop unwanted
segue.
behaviors without triggering the startle response.
That's fantastic. And this has been really illuminating for me and hopefully our listeners. Embrace the word leader. They're looking up to you. You don't need to be the alpha. You know, if you really need it for your own ego, just know that they're already looking at you for answers.
You're the one who tells them they don't even get to go to the bathroom without your
Exactly.
permission. They can't go outside. They can't do anything without your permission. You are the leader. So leaning into that without thinking about startling or scaring.
Yeah. So this is fantastic, Gordon. Another wonderful episode. Anything else we should leave our listeners with before we wrap up here?
No, this has been so much fun.
Well, please subscribe, rate, and review Zen Dog Training. We greatly appreciate that. It helps us stand out as we build this young and very important podcast. Also, check out zendogtraining.net for wonderful things. You could even stream this podcast on the website, and check out justcuriousmedia.com for all the other shows that we produce. Until next time, Gordon, thanks so much.
Thank you for listening.